Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Inner Conquest channel, my friends. Today we're going to talk about the ability to go into unwanted emotions and clear them from your energy field. So, when you think of using a lot of the different tropes, such as, law of attraction, law of assumption, all of the different aspects of what you would call reality creation from a metaphysical standpoint, what happens is inevitably when you go down this path, there are inconsistencies in performance of these things working, right? So you can do affirmations, you can do all these other things, and what will hinder those sometimes is what individuals would call subconscious or limiting beliefs, right? So if it's like, I'm a millionaire, right? But then it never shows up, and you have all these doubts and this emotional turmoil, and everything is like kind of basically not cohesively, linearly working in a repeatable way to where you're like, damn, all right, I've found the process that's going to work for me. So what hinders that is you have to think of yourself as an individual in a field of unified consciousness, right? So when you have a field of unified consciousness, what is happening is basically everything that you see around you is presented through a holographic matrix. And that holographic matrix in and of itself doesn't have any power. Like if you think of Star Wars, right, and they have the Princess Leia, and you could like put your hand through the hologram, but it looks real, and it like, if there was like a life-size hologram of a dragon outside, you'd be like, what the fuck? And you'd run inside and you'd be like, there's a fucking dragon outside. But if you were to go up to it and put your hand through it, it's not real, right? Same principle applies to the holographic matrix. So when you're manifesting in life, what you're doing, if you take the definition of manifesting, it's taking unseen to seen, right? So to manifest something is to take it from your mind and to put it in the externalized world. So when you're doing that, what you want to do is remind yourself constantly that the hologram in of itself does not have power, right? So if you look at Neville Goddard, they're like he's basically like, turn away from the mirror. The mirror doesn't have any power. Similar, if you're looking into a mirror, you are the being emanating into the mirror, it's reflecting back to you. So when you look at what is the cause of all circumstances, it's an internal cause that is then reflected upon the screen of space, which is first your mind and then in third dimensional reality. So when you have all of these different processes that are meant to change the hologram, many times they can fall short because they don't acknowledge that the hologram is actually not the source of the power, right? The source of the power comes from the energy of your being. And your energy of your being is essentially unlimited, perfect, and legit in your purest form. So what happens is when you come down and you play a human game, you severely constrict and or limit yourself. Meaning that when you constrict and or limit yourself, it's very much like if you're playing a video game, right? So if I'm going to play Call of Duty, in Call of Duty, my guy has a little gun and I go around and shoot people and I get the score going high, right? Now, in Call of Duty, I can't go and start to bake a cake in the kitchen that's in the map, right? Because Call of Duty is designed for that hyper niched shooter experience, right? So human game is very similar, right? I can't just burst in and become an elephant right out of the blue, right? So that limitation creates focus, but that limitation also requires illusion. So if you look at the principle of Maya or the great illusion, the whole point of the human game is to fool you into thinking that you're a human. So when you're fooled into thinking that you're a human, you think, act, and operate like a human, right? And it allows you to play the human game, which is a good thing, because if you're in a movie and you don't think the movie is lifelike, or you see, the boom mic coming into the screen, you're like, all right, well, that movie fucking sucked. So same thing with human game. But when you think of yourself as a human, but you're really an unlimited, all-powerful, creative being, what that means is essentially that when you have this type of process, you need to create crazy illusions to fool yourself. And what happens is when you create these crazy illusions to fool yourself, what you do is you put power into them, but it's really your power, right? So when people talk about taking your power back What that means is essentially, you recall power from external circumstances, and then you bring that back into yourself, realizing that the only reason that that thing had power was because you gave it that in the first place. So cool. So what that looks like on an application level. So say you're going towards financial freedom, you're going towards, getting more attractive, you're getting more freedom, you're getting more whatever. What that means is that when you run into these stumbling blocks, what they really are, and that could be a trigger, it could be an emotional disturbance, it could be a feeling of limitation, it could be doubt, it could be all of these different things, all under the guise of discomfort, right? So if all of the things that are going to stop you basically just have that element of discomfort, what that means is that that is something that contains your power in it, okay? So follow me for a moment. What the half-truth that you'll learn about in personal development is right, you need to conquer your fears, you need to go in there, you need to do what you're scared of, and then now you can be greater. And that's true to some extent. But it negates the fact that the hologram isn't real, right? It negates the fact that if you slay the holographic dragon, the dragon was never real, and you never acknowledge the fact that you created the dragon in the first place, right? So once you have that step back and you start to think of your universe as an externalization of consciousness, which is you, and you are an unlimited, all-powerful being, and you have created your reality in such a way to fool yourself into thinking that you are limited, now the real question is, how do you reclaim power from all of the different areas of the hologram that have stores of your power? And the way that you do that is very simply, right? You decide what you want. You want to be wealthier, you want to look better, you want to have more freedom, etc., right? The real you would just instantly have that, because the real you is unlimited. So from your limited perspective, you'll run into limitations, which could be finances, could be I can't leave because of this, and this. When you feel the energetic components of those limitations, what that is signaling you that there's a pocket of power that you have not reclaimed from the hologram yet. And the easiest way to reclaim power is to push yourself into the discomfort. And I'm not talking about physical action. I'm talking about on a feeling, emotional level, right? The only reason we want things are to feel better, and the only thing that stops us from getting what we want are feelings of that we can't have it or we can't do it or limitations, etc. So when you have a process for feeling into discomfort, and the process is you feel into discomfort, you feel into the middle of it, you feel into the center of the discomfort. And once you feel the discomfort, you simply acknowledge a couple of truths about the discomfort so that you can dissolve it and move and progress towards your path without that resistance. Side note, what happens is if you don't reclaim your power and you don't dissolve the emotional disturbance that's created, any type of solution to that is basically like a Band-Aid to fix what is inherently not recalling your power, which is a part of you that you will have one way or another. It's just better to have it now, right? So when you have a discomfort or a limitation or anything of that nature, you push yourself into it. You simply say, I am the power and presence that created this, right? You want to acknowledge that you created it, because when you're starting out in the human game, you're unconscious, meaning that you're creating things left and right to basically facilitate the illusion that you're a human being, right? Like you'll create things like, your parents don't love you, and so now you need to work hard, right? You will create things like lack and limitation. You'll create all of these different circumstances to mold your character. But once you start to reclaim that power, what you'll do is you'll go into those discomforting things. You say, hey, I created this when I was unconscious. This is a really good creation, because like whether or not it feels good or is in alignment with my goal, I have to acknowledge the fact that this is a serious power, energetic structure that has made me, an infinite, unlimited being, feel as if I am extremely limited. That's pretty impressive, right? Because if you're truly unlimited, the ability to make yourself think that you're unlimited and then also energize that construct long enough to fool yourself accurately is pretty impressive. So you just acknowledge that, right? You go, this is pretty fucking crazy that I was able to create this. Second thing that you'll do, you push yourself into it, you appreciate it, you say, I'm the power and the presence that created this, you appreciate it, And then you also recall your power. You say, okay, now that I feel it, you have to feel the entire structure. You say, now that I feel this, I recall all of my power now. I feel it coming back to me. I feel it surging through me. And what happens is that gives you a tool set. It gives you the ability to go into, if you want to call them emotional blockages, if you want to call them limitations, if you want to call them whatever, but it gives you the ability to, at its core structure, dissolve limitation. And what happens is when you dissolve limitation, it's like pulling down a wall and walking through. When you have a limitation and you try to get a catapult and shoot rocks at it and fucking get your army and you go and you build ladders and try to get over it and you get a big forest troll from Lord of the Rings to break down the gate, right? What are you doing? You're taking your power and you're adding more power to the thing. So that's why they say what you resist persists, right? Because if you fight it force with force, you basically just energize the construct. So when you have a limitation, the best way to do it is to feel the whole thing, appreciate it, go, dude, I fucking created this shit when I was totally asleep. Cool. I recall all my power from that now. And you want to work that process over and over and over again until you sap all of the energy out of it. And then what happens is you can go into an expanded state where you feel as if there never was an issue in the beginning, right? And now you can do your proper affirmations. Now you can do your proper processes, and they will be much less hindered because there's a lack of resistance there. So I hope this was useful. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was well communicated. If you guys want more one-on-one coaching or anything of that nature, there's a new link in the bio with a link tree with everything really nicely put into place. We do video calls, we do emails, we do all that stuff. If you just want to stay for the free videos, great. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. I'm happy to make videos about them. Other than that, guys, go conquer your reality, and I'll talk to you soon.